Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Accelerite ShareInsights webinar. We will be talking about gaining self-sufficiency in the world of big data analytics. My name is Bhavna Mittal, and I'm Head of Product Marketing here at Accelerite, and I will be kicking off this webinar. Our speakers today will be Dean Hamilton, CTO at Accelerite, and Mukund Deshpande, GM of Technology and Strategy here at Accelerite. But before I pass this webinar over to our speakers, I have a few housekeeping items to ensure everyone has a great experience viewing this webinar. Firstly, make sure your computer speakers are turned up and the volume is adjusted since the audio will be streamed over the web. Secondly, disable pop-up blockers on your browser. And we'd love to hear your questions or comments, so please send it to us in the chat box below. And with that, let's get started. Dean, all yours.
Thanks, Bhavna, and hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. This morning, I want to spend a little time telling you about how we help our customers achieve self-sufficiency on big data. And then we'll show you a demo of our ShareInsights product. So let me start by running through a few slides quickly. You know, we all recognize that we live in a increasingly self-service economy, right? Whether we go to the bank or to the grocery store, wherever we are, the businesses that we interact with are being transformed, and our user experiences are they're now ones where we can interact directly with the underlying data that we need to get the products that we want. And in enterprises, data analysts are also increasingly trying to improve velocity of how they generate insights. And so they're looking for self-service tools. And there are tools that analysts use today that have some self-service capabilities. But for very large data sets, true data self-service is still some ways off. And some of the challenges that we find as our customers are looking to achieve true self-service on big data, we find these challenges are in three principal areas. Now, the first area is that there really still are far too many tools, and there's far too much complexity when you're working with large and diverse data sets. So whether you might have to use an ETL tool with an OLAP tool and then a visualization tool, or maybe you use different underlying data processing and storage technologies, maybe you're on private cloud or public cloud, or depending on which public cloud you're on, the technologies change. And then you find that you have to stitch everything together, perhaps with programming. And all of this is in a constantly changing technology landscape. This creates major impediments to self-sufficiency on big data. The second problem is that data lakes themselves have, by their very nature, they have high diversity and high variety of data. So your data lake may have structured and unstructured data. It may have flat files, text logs, social media data, images, video, all kinds of different types of data. And the very nature of that diversity, you'll find, gets in the way of actually extracting value quickly. The third complaint that we hear is that the businesses themselves are increasingly under more and more pressure to turn around analytic products quickly. Businesses want to make decisions more quickly. Business users no longer feel like they can wait for months for answers. And companies need to respond very quickly or risk missing out on opportunities. So as we think about these challenges, let's consider how the traditional siloed model for big data still works in most companies. Typically, a business user is trying to answer a question and needs an analytic product to do that. And so that business user goes to a big data analyst to get a report or a dashboard generated, one that can help inform his or her decision making. Now, that analyst very often doesn't have the capability to get the whole thing done, him or herself, especially using a large data set. So he or she may turn to a BI developer who's working with certain tools. Uh, Very often, those self-service tools work pretty well for smaller data sets, but not so well for big data. So that BI developer then may need to turn to an ETL developer to say, look, help me transform this large data set. And the ETL developer might need to use an OLAP layer for some summarization. And then if the data is not in the data lake, then the platform developer might need to get involved. And it's this layered complexity that produces a real impediment to true self-sufficiency on big data. The complexity is associated with the number of people involved and the number of products involved. Well, that's where Accelerite ShareInsights comes in. ShareInsights is a tool that's designed to eliminate those problems. It's a tool that's designed to create end-to-end self-service analytics capability for very large and complex data sets, generating faster time to insight. And it's designed with data analysts in mind, and it's designed even with business users in mind. The entire end-to-end flow can be designed in one place, and it can be executed from one platform. And so there's no technology expertise really that's required. No tools expertise other than ShareInsights itself. No underlying technology expertise. No big data platform expertise. ShareInsights is designed to hide all of that and to give you a self-service, non-programming, drag-and-drop solution to create your big data insights very, very rapidly. So how does it work? Well, from a user perspective, we can think of ShareInsights having sort of 4 dimensions. First is the ability to easily explore very large data sets and understand what you're looking at and what has to be done to get the analytic answers that you want. That's the Data Lake Explorer part of ShareInsights. Then we have the Data Transformation Pipeline Designer, which is a sort of a drag and drop visual studio that allows you to very quickly create your data transformation pipelines. You can blend data together, even use powerful machine learning algorithms. Then ShareInsights has its own self-service visualization capability, which has its own built-in OLAP layer inside of it. So that allows you to do filters and drill down all the way into very large data sets without summarization. It has an expandable widget library, so you can get whatever types of beautiful visualizations you want. And finally, ShareInsights has an ability to allow collaboration among data analysts and business users and data consumers. And so you can easily share transformation pipelines and dashboards that you've built. It has a very nice internal collaboration environment. Now, let's take a minute to just look at some of the underlying technology that makes this all happen. So ShareInsights uses what we call a code generation approach to solving the problems that we set out to solve for our customers. Now, it starts with the Transformation Flow Designer component, which is what I mentioned is the kind of visual studio, drag and drop visual studio. It's a non-programming environment that allows you to design your end-to-end analytic flows. That designer generates an intermediate file that's then automatically compiled by ShareInsights' internal compiler. There's no intervention necessary by anybody. And then that compiler is what creates the underlying code that is needed to execute on the big data processing environments and infrastructure that's going to create your analytic output. And so the ShareInsights compiler and the code that's generated by it can handle a variety of underlying data processing technologies, a variety of underlying data storage infrastructure technologies. It can handle any kind of intermediate layer technologies that you may be using. And those technologies will inevitably change. And as new ones come into being, ShareInsights can create updated code for those new platforms and mask the complexity of those changes. Now, then as you want to now take the output of your data processing and visualize it, ShareInsights again can create the code necessary to take that data that's coming in from the processing algorithms and create the dashboards needed by your business users. All again using drag and drop technology, and all with the complexity of the underlying technologies hidden. And that's the key value of ShareInsights. This is this future-proofing capability. And this code generation approach is a critical part of what makes this tool so powerful. As new cloud technologies are introduced, or as say you move from one cloud, you're on AWS cloud today, you want to move to Azure cloud tomorrow, which uses different underlying big data technologies, ShareInsights hides all of that. There's just one simple tool that business users or analysts can use to create their insights on big data sets, no matter where that data itself is being processed. Now, from an installation perspective, ShareInsights is great at making everything simple for your IT operations team. There's no need to impact the operation of your Hadoop cluster because ShareInsights server functionality sits on a Hadoop edge node. So in most cases, you won't even have to ask your IT department to give you any permission to install and use ShareInsights. As long as your business unit has access to Hadoop edge node, you're ready. The ShareInsights client UI functionality is browser-based. So it's very, very easy to get started. And as I alluded to previously, ShareInsights operates both on-premise and on public clouds. In fact, ShareInsights is available on several of the most powerful and popular public clouds available today. And it hides all of the diversity and complexity of the technology and all the knowledge that you need to actually operate on those public cloud environments. The product's also designed to use machine learning algorithms. And as many companies are now looking to upgrade from the traditional approach to analytics and moving to more advanced analytics using some of the emerging advanced machine learning and AI algorithms. These are very, very easy to incorporate into your analytic transformation flows. Finally, from a collaboration perspective, the product's lifecycle management capabilities allows you to get a lot of leverage and reusability from the analytic assets that you're creating. It supports versioning and rollbacks and forks. And these capabilities give you leverage that you need to quickly build up a library of valuable and reusable analytic assets that can be shared across your organization. Now, all of these capabilities really amount to one thing. They all really boil down to a product that creates the lowest total cost of ownership for processing petabytes of complex, large, diverse data sets. And as we go into most customer environments today, we find a very sort of traditional model still in place. Right? You'll find that most companies are using some sort of ETL tool, right? You may be using Alteryx, or just for example here is a popular one. There are many other great tools. But ETL tools don't do visualization. And so the company may be also employing a popular visualization tool. In this case, company may be using a tool like Tableau, one of the more popular data visualization tools out there. But Tableau doesn't perform very well with large data sets. And so the company may be using yet another product to do summarization of data, an OLAP product like AtScale. And this is the sort of complexity that ShareInsights is designed to remove. ShareInsights is one product, and it puts everything that you need together It has its own built-in OLAP. It's great for doing data preparation. It's great for doing ETL. It's great for doing visualization. It's got great collaboration capabilities. It's built to do all of this natively on your Hadoop cluster. And so ShareInsights is the first product to truly deliver self-service, end-to-end big data analytics. So before I close out here, let me just give you some real-world examples by taking you through some use cases of how customers are actually using this product in the world today. We have customers who are using the product to optimize effectiveness of marketing campaigns. So these customers are bringing in very large and diverse data sets from all sorts of sources, including large amounts of social media data for customer sentiment analysis. And they're assessing those large data sets, and then they're refining their campaigns. And instead of it taking a long time for them to make decisions about what to do with the campaigns, they're actually able to do this around the clock. And what's really powerful is this is being done with no programming teams. It's being done actually by the business users themselves. They are working with the tool to generate their own analytic products. In another use case, we're working with in the healthcare domain. We're working with researchers in institutions doing very large clinical trials. And here they're also working with large data sets, and they're trying to understand both the suitability of patients for trials, and then as the trials progress, they're trying to identify outcome patterns very quickly so they can optimize their trials and they can protect patients. Again, this is being done on a continual basis now by the analysts and business users without a complex stack, layered architecture of teams involved to actually produce this insight. And finally, I'll drill down a little bit more into this third use case, because this is the largest data set that we're working with. This here we're working with a very, very large cable TV company. This company has tens of millions of customers, and these customers have TV set-top boxes. And the company is now collecting, and has been collecting for a long time, customer viewing behavior data. So, you know, they know whether you paused or did you play, and how long did you pause for, and did you rewind, and what were you actually watching. And they're generating tens and collecting tens well, every second they've got tens of millions of boxes from which they're collecting data. And so terabytes of data are being generated day after day. And timely analysis of these data sets are needed by TV producers and advertisers. Now, historically, the way they've tackled this problem, because the data sets are so large, is that they've used a sort of a statistical sampling approach. That's the only way they could produce timely analysis. So they've had sort of a Nielsen rating sample panel, if you will, of end users or viewers whose set-top boxes are the ones from which they're actually going to really analyze data. And it's a very, very small sample compared to the universe of viewers. And that approach, you know, it has some inherent challenges. It works well for some things, and for other things not so well. One of the problems is you can miss very important connections that you would otherwise see only if you could look at the entire data set. And so ShareInsights now allows this customer to analyze the entire data set. They're able to transform and process that entire data set with a very high frequency. The product lets each business constituency actually build their own analytic self-service products, and then make those products available to their internal users. And as a result, you can see, if you look at the bottom of this slide, you can see they've had some significant improvements and benefits that the business has already been able to realize. So I think I'll stop there. I hope I've given you a little overview and insight into what the product itself does. And now I think I'll turn it over to Mukund Deshpande. Mukund will take you through a demo so you'll be able to see the product in action. And thank you all for listening. Over to you, Mukund.
Thank you, Dean. Hello, everybody. My name is Mukund Deshpande, and today I'm going to demonstrate ShareInsights. And as Dean mentioned, ShareInsights essentially allows you to carry out different analytical operations in one single tool. That's really our USP. So I've divided the demo accordingly. In the first part, I'll talk about the data visualization features which ShareInsights supports. In the second part, I'll talk about how in the same tool you can do data preparation as well. And in the third part, I'll talk about data exploration, collaboration, and some other features which are important. So, okay, without further ado, let's get started. Let me make this into full screen. So this is a dashboard which shows the top 100 brands from 2001 to 2015 across different sectors. So from what it means is in 2001, in technology sector, there were 12 brands, sort of more or less constant. Now there are 13 brands. Go to automotive sector, it started off with 8 brands, now slowly climbing up, a small dip on the financial meltdown, again back to 15 brands, so doing pretty well. Beverages more or less flat. Financial services also again interesting chart, starting off with 4 in 2001, going up, then again a down over here and over here. And what you can see here also is actual brands as well. So whenever I click this, the bottom chart refreshes with the brands from that sector. You can see American Express sort of being constant over here, Merrill Lynch, JP Morgan. Again, all the brands over here sort of are shown in the chart below. Technology sector is an interesting one. It's sort of Apple starting out in 2001 at 49th position in top 100 and now dominating at number 1. And similarly, Google starting off in 2005 and sort of slowly climbing up. So this is really essentially how the different visualization features are available. Again, you have a bunch of standard widgets which are available. You can sort of link them so that when you refresh, the other one sort of refresh it automatically, so you have an interaction of users and the widgets refreshing. One other interesting feature of ShareInsights over here is the ability to capture the insight. So what you can do is saying over the years, automotive sector brands are doing quite well. So I can capture this and post it over here. So what it does is that it sort of captures this current state and sort of shows it in comments over here. So you can sort of see what the different brands are. The government sector is doing well. I've been doing well the last 15 years. And whenever I click this, this chart immediately refreshes. So if I say financial services, it'll immediately start showing financial services. I can sort of say set further dip in 2000. So I can have a collaboration over here. Currently it is shown over here, but you can also link it to your enterprise collaboration platform. In some cases, we have also integrated this with workflow engine so that all the actions taken on the data and the dashboard are also shown over here. So this is like a one place where you can see all the interaction associated with the dashboard. Now, it's important to understand how this dashboard was built, because that is really where ShareInsights shines. So if you want to see how this dashboard was built, all you do in the browser itself is just say edit. And it shows you this tab where the dashboard was built. Now let me walk you through this. So what you see over here are, the first box over here is the dataset box. So when I click over here, it immediately shows me all the different data sets over here. So you can see the sector column, the changed value, country, brand, current value, and so on and so forth. And all the data sets which are used or created in this sort of flows are available over here. You can see them from weight and so on and so forth. And then again, the list of data sets are also available over here, which you can use for creating your dashboards. So if you want to create new data sets, you want to create new widgets, new tasks, all of that is possible over here. Now the second entity is the task. So this is the filter by task. So what's happening over here is that I really am only interested in data sets which belong to year 2005. So this is the task which sort of filters out the data set, and you have other tasks over here. So you have add columns, remove columns, intersect, some of these things as well. And the last part over here is the widget, where you can sort of see the different sort of visualization options you have. Over here we are using an area chart. You can see a list over here. So again, all of these things are also available right over here, interactive for you to work with. We have a bunch of widgets over here. You can add as many widgets as you want into your dashboard. There's no limit. You can keep configuring them based on the data. Again, all the configurations are done directly over here. So you can see this one is bound to the year column in the data set, and this is sort of the count brand, which is the number of brands over here. Now, one aspect which I haven't talked about is the layout, is really the positioning of the widget. So this is a very important part in the first data visualization operation, is the layout. So I can click a layout editor over here. What it does is it shows me how the different dashboards layout is available. I can resize them, I can change the width, change the height. One very unique thing about ShareInsights is that all of this is still very responsive, so you can sort of view it in any mobile devices. We actually don't hard code the width or the height, but sort of we capture that in a relative setting, which makes it easy for you to sort of to work with. If you don't want this widget, you can sort of just remove it, or you can take it now and drag it in a different position. Depending on where you're showing, it will decide and drop it directly over there. So if I drop it over here, it will sort of show up here. I can again adjust it, or I can sort of decide to change this part. Again, all of this are still interactive widgets, live widgets over here. I like the one, so I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to go back and not save this. So we are back to now to the editor pane. So this essentially brings to close the first part of the demo, which sort of demonstrates the visualization features of ShareInsights. We now are in the second part of the demo, where we want to demonstrate data preparation features. As you may recall, we demonstrated data visualization features in the earlier part. Now we'll demonstrate data preparation features. To do that, what you do is you add a flow and you say what you want to do. So when I was looking at the data set, I noticed there's an interesting column called country. So I want to do brands by country. Save this. You don't have to name it, but just it's good practice to name each flow. You can drop in a data set over here. And now what I want to do is, before I do, let me show you what the data is. So this is brand data. You can see this country. I want to actually group it by country and also aggregate the current value. So I'm going to do this country value. Sum is good. I can also do min, max, average, whatever. And then I'm going to say brand value by country and save it. Then this essentially creates a new data set for brand value by country. I can actually tie a column chart to it. I can say x-axis, I want it to be country, and then the new value which I created over here. Let me name this part country. Save this. Now this is just so we have just worked in the editor. We really haven't done anything. We haven't done anything on the big data cluster. So what we need to do now is actually submit this job for execution onto the cluster. And for doing that, you say publish dashboard, essentially because you want to create a new dashboard. And now this goes through 3 steps. The first step is actually checking configuration. So it actually goes and sort of creates, makes sure that everything is correct. Then what it does is actually starts executing. So it essentially goes and executes across all of the different things, and that's very quick because the data is very small. And the third part actually is publishing and creating Hive tables. So this is really where on the cluster it goes and actually creates Hive tables for you. And as you can see over here, we are creating Hive tables, but the data set actually has already been finished. So you can see there are only about 19 countries. Over here, I can now look at the data set. You can see it's per how many countries are there. You can see value per country as well. And you can also take a look at the visualization as well. So this is actually the widget per country. You can see how many countries in the visualization over here. Now we can also go and see how the dashboard was looking. So you can actually go and click and say view dashboard. What this will do is actually it will show you the dashboard which is over here. As you can see now you have different countries, and over here you can, this is all looking good. I can go back in edit, and if I want I could go here can actually go ahead and change the layout if I wanted. So I can, if you want, I can say, okay, I only want this. I can remove this part completely and then have this thing over here. So again, as I said, in this case, what we're doing over here is actually going and creating new data sets, preparing new data sets, which we saw over here, and performing operations on top of it. This brings to an end the second part of the demo where we demonstrated data preparation features. Now, in the third part of the demo, what we will do is we'll start with some of the basic collaboration features. So what you can see over here is that if I see the diff, what it actually shows me is all the different operations I have performed on the dashboard over a period of time. So you can see what all things I have made. I can compare what changes I have added. So you can see I added a new flow over here with respect to this. Sometime back I deleted some flows, added some flows over here. So essentially the entire history of all the changes which have been made is captured over here. What we do actually is we store all of this in a source control. So all this information is actually pushed into a source control, which makes it very easy for other people to work with. So let me demonstrate this. So imagine that you really like this dashboard of what has been done, and you really want to make your own personal copy of it. So what you could go over here is go back to this dashboard and say fork, and then you say personal brands, let me just call it Mukund brand dashboard. So this, what it would do is actually we would go ahead and create your own personal copy of this dashboard. So now this is my own personal copy. I can decide what I want to do. I say I don't want this heat map. And then go and remove things again. So this essentially allows people sort of to work together very effectively. So what we are doing over here is really leveraging the collaboration model, which is commonly used in developer community, where a source control essentially provides a versioned history of all the changes, and people can decide, go back, or sort of take their own branch, and all of those features which you typically would see in your developer setting are also available over here for people to sort of to work with. So this is again a sort of a very easy environment for people sort of to do. So collaboration here, in this case, we are actually working directly with the entire dashboard or entire flow. You can also collaborate on individual tasks. So what I can do over here is it's possible for you sort of to upload an existing tasks over here, so which makes it very easy. Let me sort of over here. So if I add a brand based data, I actually drop in execute task, and these are sort of a bunch of tasks which are available for you. You can actually go and upload your own existing functions, which would then be available for other people to sort of execute and play with. And if you don't want it, you can just delete this flow line. So this essentially talks about the collaboration features which are available in ShareInsights. Now I'm going to cover the last part, is actually the data set side of things. So what we will do is we'll go back to the ShareInsights main page over here. What you saw over here are all the dashboards, and this is the brand understanding, and that's the personal dashboard which you just created. But one other place which is also available over here is the Data Lake Explorer. So this really allows you to explore the data sets which are available to you on your lake. As you can see over here that this is the brand based data. I can actually go and click some other data sets over here and see how the funds are looking for it, and actually evaluate the values and see the values directly over here. I can click some and look at the columns, what columns are available, what their types are. So again, all this information is very easily available at your fingertips. So you can go back to Dashboard Explorer, and this brings to an end the ShareInsights demonstration. I'll hand it over back to Bhavna to continue the webinar. Thanks.
We are at the top of the hour, but if you have any further questions after the fact or while you're watching this presentation on demand, feel free to reach out to us. With that, I want to thank you everyone for joining this webinar, and to Dean and Mukund for taking the time out to speak with us about the importance of self-service in the big data world. This webinar will be available on demand for future viewing. Thanks again and have a great day.